and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Rabbi Eliezer Melamed, Shlita. Here we are, Yom Chamishi, getting ready for Erev Yom Kippur, then Yom Kippur. Of course, Yom Kippur coinciding with Shabbos this year hasn't happened in a few years. An interesting tidbit is that we will break a streak, I think it's over 7 years, of being able to make Kaddish every Friday night. So this will be the first Friday night in that period of time that we're unable to make Kaddish. Also, today's Slichos were widely considered to be the most important. That's why, if you notice in some of the Slichos versions, they have this day is switched with the day before to make sure that it falls on a laning day. We didn't have to switch it this year because it's Thursday, but the Pismon that is recited is the same Pismon that's recited at Ne'ilah. In fact, many people, particularly Hasidim, have a custom of waiting until today to do Tashlich. It's considered, again, a very, very important day, so if you haven't done Tashlich yet, just a public service announcement, maybe today's a good day. It's nice weather out here in the northeast. Hoping that people down in the southeast are faring okay in these terrible hurricanes. But we continue davening for Chalei Tzvagana Yisrael, Refuah Shalem L'chol Petzua Yisrael, safe return of our hostages, and again dedicating our learning Le'ili Nishmas, Seren Daniel Shimon ben Harav Dron Vasheli Hashem Yikum Damo. The next chapter is Kaddish and Besim HaTfilah. So we've been talking about the Kaddish. Let's talk about the Kaddishes at the end of davening. So we said that we have a half Kaddish after Tachnun, after Shmona Esrei. And if there is no Tachanun, then we go straight to the Chatzi Kaddish. So I know it's one of the things that gives people in Minyan great relief or great joy when the Chazan finishes Chazar Sashat and he goes straight to Yiskadal, and there's always that guy that yells out Yiskadal or Kaddish or Chatzi Kaddish. But after learning what we've been learning, I think we should perhaps reevaluate our level of simcha at skipping Tachnun, because Tachnun is a very important tefillah. But I digress. V'hatam she'omer chatzi kaddish bilvad, kadei shelo lahafsik ben hatfilah l'kaddish tiskabel, shenemer achar kadusha desidra. So why is it only a half kaddish? Because we don't want to have an interruption, a hefsek, between the Shmona Esrei and the kaddish tiskabel, which is said after Uval Tzion. Because when is the repetition from the shots? When does it really conclude? Not at the end of Shmona Esrei, but really at the end of Uval Tzion, and therefore that full Kaddish, that Kaddish Tiskabel, goes on everything. So it's an interesting question. When the Chazan finishes repeating the Shemona Esrei, does he have to take the 3 steps back? So Rav Melamed paskins that you do not have to, since the Kaddish Tiskabel that happens after Uval Tzion is actually, the 3 steps there are ones that will count for the ones, because it's actually the conclusion of the Shemona Esrei, and that is the separation. And on Mondays and Thursdays, when we lane, also after laning, we say half Kaddish. And then, of course, the full Kaddish, the Tiskabel, after Uval Tzion. Just an interesting point about what I had just mentioned. There's a big difference of opinion about whether or not the Chazan should take the 3 steps back. So some say that he should, and some say he shouldn't. But just particularly, if let's say we have a minyan where there are a lot of Avelim, and sometimes the Avelim will switch positions, and some will take over, let's say, for Ashrei, so then in that instance, the person who finished Shemona Esrei is not the person saying Kaddish Tiskabel. So therefore, perhaps maybe he should take the 3 steps back. But again, it's one of those probably whatever you do is right. Achar Shir Shel Yom Omrim Kaddish Sholem. After the Shir Shel Yom, the Psalm of the day, we say what they call Kaddish Sholem, which we call Kaddish Yosam, She'oserem Achar Psukim. That's the Kaddish that we say after reading Psukim. And this is recited by the mourners. That's why here in America we call it the mourners Kaddish. It's really Kaddish Yosam, as we discussed yesterday, because this Kaddish has also a purpose to help elevate the neshamas of those who have died. And if there is nobody in mourning, then someone who does not have a parent should recite this Kaddish. And if there is no one missing a parent, imagine that, davening in the minyan where there's nobody missing a parent, Baruch Hashem, then They shouldn't say this Kaddish because it's a mourner's Kaddish. It's not nice to have someone who has parents living. Interesting question about someone who, he has it in the note here actually, about whether or not someone with two parents can say Kaddish. Years ago, when both of my parents were living, I asked them explicit permission because often, let's say, conducting a funeral or helping people recite it, if I could say Kaddish for someone or help someone with it, and not to be considered an affront to my parents who were living at the time. So they granted me permission, and that was implied and expressed. The way we have it today is that we say this Kaddish after Aleinu regardless. So even if there's nobody saying Kaddish, we just went through a period in our shul, which is a new record. I think we had over 2 months where there was nobody part of the congregation who had to say Kaddish. Nobody was in the year of Avelis. That's uncommon in shul today because there seems to be always somebody saying Kaddish. So in those instances, or let's say there is no mourner, we say a Kaddish after Aleinu regardless. Again, that's based on the Mishnah Berurah. Achar Pitam HaKetoris, Ormon Kaddish D'Rabbanan. If you say Pitam HaKetoris, so we say it only on Shabbos, but in Israel they say it daily, they make a Kaddish D'Rabbanan, Shetikul Omar Achalimba B'divrei Chachamim, which is instituted after learning Torah Sheba'al Peh. Hefliku Chachamim Malas Kaddish D'Rabbanan. So the Chazal, in discussing Kaddish D'Rabbanan, they say, the Gemara in Sota says that aside from Kedusha Desidra, which we saw earlier, Tzion, that also because of the Kaddish D'Rabbanan is what allows the world to stand. Vahatam, so what's the reason? Because it was said after public discourse of Torah, public teaching of Torah. So Rashi explains there, then we have this sort of ranking of the mitzvah of Talmud Torah, which is equal to all the other mitzvahs in the Torah, and you have a Kiddush Hashem, the sanctifying of Hashem's name in the Kaddish, so therefore it's considered one of the things that saves the world. Gam Kaddish Zen Nogan Avelim Omrim, and this is also recited by mourners. And again, if there's a Kaddish D'Rabbanan, our custom is that if there's no mourner, even after learning, we don't say it. But in other words, we don't say someone who could be a mourner or was a mourner that doesn't have living parents should say the Kaddish. In other words, it's not imperative. We only say that for the Kaddish after Aleinu. But if you certainly have nobody who has lost a parent, then the custom is not to say it. Amnam Ikar Hadin, Hachazan Rishoy L'Amr B'nei She'einu Nikra Kaddish Yasam. But even the Chazan, the person who's, let's say, teaching or learning, can say this Kaddish because it's not a mourner's Kaddish. But however, the prevailing custom, and since that's the way it's always done, is that's recited by mourners, so non-mourners typically do not recite this Kaddish. And some are worried about Tircha de Tzibura, and Tircha de Tzibura, we don't want to belabor the congregation, the services, etc., so therefore if there is no mourner, they won't say any Kaddishes. Again, just to reiterate, our practice here is that if there are no mourners, which again is a rare occurrence, the only Kaddish that is recited is the one after Aleinu, and no other Kaddishim. Again, that's part of Tircha de Tzibura, and also no need. So that's kind of the American practice, and Israel has different ideas, of course, as well, and different minhagim, but we're just trying to expand all of our horizons of halacha, understanding, and minhag. So we hope everyone has a good day. Please continue davening with Chalei Tzva Ganei Yisrael for Shlom L'Chol Petzui Yisrael, return of our hostages, Lili Nishmas, our learning for Daniel Shimon Ben Harav Daron Michelle Shemikum Damo. We'll see you here next time. Have a great day.